The wife, Donna, hid under the bed with the intention of playing a prank on her husband. However, things took an unexpected turn. Donna found herself paralyzed with fear as her heart raced, making her feel like it might burst from her chest. She gazed at her husband's feet right in front of her and felt deeply embarrassed. The prank, initially intended to strengthen their bond, had gone awry. Donna was clueless about how to handle this situation, and her anxiety grew with every passing moment. She wished desperately that she could reverse the situation, but she knew it was already too late for that. In the midst of her distress, Donna realized she needed to take action, but she didn't know what to do. Her heart was heavy with guilt and regret, and she wished she could turn back time. However, she knew that wasn't possible, and she needed to find a way to face the consequences of her actions. With each moment that passed, her stomach churned with dread, and she knew that this situation could have a profound impact on her relationship with her husband. Donna and Mark Smith had first met when they were just 17 years old. After summoning the courage to ask her out, Mark eventually proposed to Donna, and 25 years later, the childhood sweethearts were happily married with 2 kids of their own. To outsiders, their marriage appeared to be perfect, and Donna couldn't believe her luck in having such a kind and generous husband. However, one day, everything changed for Donna. She found herself questioning the very foundation of their marriage. Doubts crept in, and she couldn't help but wonder if she really knew Mark at all. As she navigated through this sudden shift in her emotions, she realized that there were cracks in their relationship that she had been ignoring for too long. Her perfect life wasn't as perfect as she had once thought, and she was left wondering whether her doubts were just temporary or the beginning of something far more significant. As time passed, Donna began to notice a change in her husband's behavior towards her. He no longer showered her with compliments or displayed the same love and affection as before. This gradual shift in his passion for her left Donna feeling worried and anxious. She couldn't help but wonder if he was having an affair or struggling with a secret addiction. Determined to uncover the truth, Donna became fixated on figuring out what was causing her husband's emotional distance. However, when she finally discovered the reason for his changed behavior, she was hit with a wave of nausea. The revelation was something she never would have expected and left her feeling shattered. Donna was now faced with a decision: to confront her husband and work through their issues together, or to let the secret consume her marriage and tear them apart. Donna realized that she couldn't simply sit and watch her marriage and relationship fall apart. She knew she needed to take action to save their bond and bring back the love and passion they once shared. Having been playful pranksters in their youth, Donna came up with an idea to test her husband's love. She decided to pull a silly prank on him to see if his feelings for her were still strong. However, his reaction to the prank left her utterly shocked and taken aback. The response was far from what she had expected, and she found herself feeling more confused and lost than ever before. She realized that the situation was more complicated than she had initially anticipated, and that she needed to dig deeper to uncover the root cause of their problems. As Donna began to plan her prank, she decided to write down all her thoughts and feelings in a note. As she scribbled down her emotions, tears welled up in her eyes. She loved her husband deeply, but she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss in their marriage. It was crucial to her that she uncovered the truth about his feelings, even if it meant risking the potential fallout. When she finally wrote down everything she was feeling, Donna knew she had to take action. She needed to know if her husband was genuinely happy in their marriage or if he was merely putting on a facade. But when she finally confronted him and discovered the truth, she was hit with a wave of nausea. The revelation was something she never would have expected, and it left her feeling shattered. Donna was now faced with a decision: to confront her husband and work through their issues together, or to let the secret consume her marriage and tear them apart. In an effort to uncover her husband's true feelings, Donna decided to write down everything that was bothering her about their relationship and why she felt like she wanted a divorce. Although she didn't genuinely want a divorce, she hoped that this prank would reveal the truth behind her husband's lack of passion and dismissive behavior. Little did she know that her plan was about to go awry. As Donna prepared to put her plan into action, she felt nervous and apprehensive. She knew that confronting her husband with her list of grievances was a risky move, but she was determined to get to the bottom of their issues. However, when the time came to execute her prank, things didn't go as smoothly as she had hoped. The outcome was unexpected, leaving her feeling more confused and lost than ever before. Donna now had to face the reality that the situation was more complicated than she had anticipated, and she needed to dig deeper to uncover the root cause of their problems. To get a proper gauge of her husband's reaction, Donna hatched a plan. She decided to leave the note on top of the bed and hide underneath it to see how Mark would respond to the news of her supposed desire for a divorce. She hoped to witness his genuine reaction and get to the root of his behavior. Would he burst out in tears, or would he be happy? Donna believed her plan was foolproof, but little did she know what was about to unfold. As she lay frozen underneath the bed, waiting for her husband's response, Donna's heart pounded in her chest. She couldn't have anticipated the chaos that was about to ensue. Her plan quickly backfired, and the prank took an unexpected turn that would ultimately change the course of their marriage. Donna found herself trapped, mortified and unsure of how to move forward from the situation. The feeling of regret and remorse consumed her, as she realized that her plan had caused more harm than good. Donna had imagined the perfect scenario in her head. where her husband would break down in tears and she would emerge from under the bed to comfort him, like an angel sent from above. In that moment, she believed that everything would be okay and their marriage would become stronger. However, the reality of the situation was far from perfect. Mark's reaction to the note was not what Donna expected at all. It left her world crashing down around her. As she lay there, hidden under the bed, she heard Mark's footsteps approaching. But instead of breaking down in tears, he picked up the note and read it silently. He then proceeded to walk out of the room without saying a word. Donna was left frozen in shock, not knowing what to do next. As Donna wrote the note, she knew she had to be brutally honest with herself and her husband. She described how the love had slowly faded away over the years, and that she no longer felt the same way about him. It was a difficult decision to write such a harsh note, but she felt it was necessary to get a reaction from her husband and understand where they stood in their relationship. After finishing the note, Donna took a deep breath and placed it on the bed. She then crawled underneath the bed and waited for her husband to come into the room. At that moment, she had no idea that this decision would turn out to be the worst one she had ever made. Donna lay there, nervous and anxious, as she waited for her husband to return home. Doubts crept into her mind, making her question whether this prank was the right thing to do. She wondered what would happen if the plan backfired, and her husband reacted badly. Perhaps marriage counseling would have been a better idea after all. But her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of the front door slamming shut. Her husband was home, and Donna knew that there was no turning back now. The prank was set in motion, and she had to see it through to the end, no matter what the consequences might be. Donna's heart raced as she heard her husband's footsteps approaching their bedroom. She remained silent under the bed as he called out her name. However, she soon realized that this prank was a big mistake when she heard her husband's reaction. As he entered the room and saw the note, Donna could hear her husband's breathing become heavy and labored. He collapsed onto the bed, and Donna could see his body shaking with sobs. It was clear that her prank had gone terribly wrong. Donna felt her heart pounding in her throat as she observed her husband's feet standing in front of her. He was clearly reading the note, but the atmosphere was filled with an ominous silence. Donna realized that there was no turning back now. Her elaborate prank was about to accomplish its purpose, uncovering her husband's true feelings. However, what she was about to discover was not what she expected. As Donna lay under the bed, her heart pounding with anticipation, she waited for a reaction from her husband. Was he in shock, angry, or heartbroken? She couldn't tell. But then, to her shock, he started to laugh. A cruel, mocking laughter that chilled her to the bone. Donna couldn't believe it. This was not the reaction she was hoping for. Was her husband really so callous and uncaring that he could find humor in the destruction of their marriage? She watched in horror as he pulled out his phone and dialed a number, his laughter still ringing in her ears. Who was he calling? Was he telling someone else about the end of their marriage? The thought made her sick to her stomach. Donna realized too late that her elaborate prank had backfired spectacularly, and she was about to face the consequences. Mark's call shattered Donna's world. She couldn't believe her ears. How could he be so callous about their marriage ending? As the tears streamed down her face, she heard him making plans to see someone else. Donna felt like her heart had been ripped out of her chest. Her husband's laughter was like a knife twisting in her gut, and his words were like daggers. She was lost for words, and all she could do was lie under the bed, trying to make sense of the situation. Her worst nightmare had become a reality, and there was no going back. Donna was devastated by what her husband had just said. She felt completely broken. She couldn't respond or move, and even her worst-case scenario didn't prepare her for this. She couldn't help but wonder who he had called. Was it another woman, a mistress, or just a friend? She knew she had to find out. Donna picked up the note and began to read it. With every word, her heart began to shatter. She had hoped her prank would uncover the truth about her marriage, but instead, it had left her feeling regret and heartbreak. As Donna lay under the bed feeling like a complete fool, she couldn't believe what was happening. When her husband walked in, she had hoped for a dramatic breakdown. But he didn't. Instead, he just seemed defeated. She managed to drag herself out from under the bed, only to be faced with more devastation. As Donna tried to compose herself, her body was still racked with deep sobs. She wondered how she could carry on without him. They were supposed to be each other's soulmate. It wasn't supposed to end like this. But then, she noticed another note left on the bed. She hadn't seen it before. What was inside? As she read the note, she sobbed harder and harder. He confirmed everything she had been afraid of for months. It was the final nail in the coffin of their relationship. But then, there was something unexpected. He expressed his love for her and how he wanted to try to work things out. Donna was confused. How could he love her and also let their relationship deteriorate to the point of no return? She realized that she had been so focused on her own fears that she hadn't considered his feelings or perspective. Donna knew that it would take time, effort, and patience to rebuild their relationship. But with her husband's note, she felt hopeful that they could start the process of repairing their marriage. Donna finally mustered the courage to read the note, and it read, "Dear wife, next time you try to trick me into proving my love for you, make sure that your feet aren't sticking out from underneath the bed next time." She couldn't believe it. She had been caught in the act, and now she felt totally humiliated. Despite planning her prank so carefully, she had overlooked the most trivial detail. But her husband seemed to take it in good humor and had made a joke out of it. Although Donna was embarrassed, she felt relieved that her husband wasn't taking it too seriously. As she pieced everything together, she realized that her husband hadn't been on the phone at all and had only pretended to make the call to get back at her. In a way, she deserved it. This whole experience taught Donna a valuable lesson about toying with people's emotions to get what you want. It never works out in the end. She wondered if her husband would be able to forgive her and move on from this prank. Playing pranks in a relationship is not a healthy way to deal with issues. Trust, honesty, and open communication are key components of a healthy relationship. While such pranks may sometimes be an ultimatum, they are generally not a good idea. Sometimes all you need in a relationship is trust to get you through the ups and downs that are inevitable in life. Going to elaborate measures to see if they will react dramatically is never indicative of a healthy relationship. Hopefully, for this couple, they learned to communicate better so she never had to pull any crazy stunts like this ever again. Another woman found herself in a similar situation when she noticed that her husband insisted on paying their babysitter outside of their usual payment method. She became convinced that something unpleasant was going on. At first, she paid no attention to it, but then she overheard her husband whispering softly with the babysitter. She knew she had to get to the bottom of it. However, after carrying out her plan and watching the recording, she wished she had never gone through with it. The Richards couple was the talk of the town. They seemed to have everything they could ever want. Both John and Grace were successful in their careers. John is a lawyer and Grace is a real estate agent. When they found out that Grace was pregnant, they were overjoyed. She had always dreamed of becoming a mother, and the pregnancy went flawlessly. However, they faced many hardships after their child was born. Grace developed postpartum depression, making it difficult to regain her old physique. Knowing she would need a nanny to care for her child once she returned to work, Grace hired Anna, a highly recommended and pretty babysitter recommended by her neighbors. But there was a problem she didn't see coming. Grace quickly noticed that her new nanny, Anna, had a flirtatious personality. Though she tried to ignore it, she couldn't help but become suspicious when she overheard Anna talking with her husband in a hushed tone. As time went on, Grace grew increasingly aware that something had changed between Anna and her husband. Though she didn't want to confront him without evidence, she couldn't shake the feeling that their relationship had become inappropriate. Determined to find out the truth, Grace installed hidden cameras throughout her home, hoping to catch Anna and her husband in the act. As she watched the footage, her suspicions were confirmed. There was definitely something going on between them. Despite her fears, Grace knew that she had to confront the situation head-on. She couldn't let Anna's behavior go unchecked, and she needed to find out whether her husband was truly faithful. With a heavy heart, she prepared to have a difficult conversation that would change her life forever. After a week, Grace was ready to face her worst nightmare. She sat in her living room and logged into the security cameras, desperately hoping her intuition was wrong. As she watched the footage, she paused when she saw her husband and Anna alone in a room. Anxious, she continued to play and watch as her stomach turned. It wasn't long before she noticed the tension between them. Anna slowly closed the distance between them every time they were alone. There was no doubt she was hitting on him, but how would he react? Grace was glued to the screen when suddenly she heard a knock on the door. It was Anna, who had come by unannounced to collect her payment for the month. She said John was expecting her. Grace forced a smile as her husband appeared. "Anna," he said. Grace was about to reach for her purse when John said, "Oh, I've got this, Grace. Don't worry about it." He insisted on taking Anna to her car and paying her himself, unaware that Grace was watching. Being a mom is not always the sexiest job. You are tired, surrounded by clutter, and constantly available to your children. However, Grace's husband was a desirable man, and she had often noticed how he was viewed by other women. She tried not to let it bother her, but the way their babysitter looked at him tonight made her extra alert. Grace could tell that Anna was acting weirder than usual in front of her husband that night, wearing a devious little black number that left little to the imagination. Grace tried to give her the benefit of the doubt and wondered if maybe she had gone partying afterward. However, when she saw Anna's hand on John's arm, she knew that something was up. As Anna and John walked down the hallway, Grace wished she could hear what they were saying. Suddenly, Anna gestured knowingly at her little black dress. Grace could only imagine what she was saying, but she couldn't see her husband's reaction as he stood with his back to the camera. Then, they stepped outside. Grace watched as her husband led Anna out, and she logged in directly to the live images from the outdoor camera. She thought this was it, the moment when her marriage was on the rocks. She saw them talking, but something wasn't right. It looked like a fight, and Anna began to cry while John stormed back inside. "What happened?" Grace rushed to her husband and asked him what happened. "I fired her," John said. "Why?" Grace wondered. John told her to sit down, and Grace braced herself for what was to come. John explained that he didn't like the way Anna treated him and continued. "I didn't like the way she looked or talked to me. She flirted with me all the time and I felt like she totally disrespected you. She made me feel uncomfortable. I told her many times to stop, but she didn't listen. I had no choice. It was way too inappropriate." Grace was overjoyed and guilty at the same time. Therefore, she decided to confess everything to John. She told him that she had been worried and suspected something was going on between him and Anna. She had set up a camera and asked for his forgiveness for spying and not trusting him. Grace also confided that she had been feeling insecure since the birth of their baby. She struggled with her insecurities and postpartum depression, feeling like he wasn't interested in her anymore. She broke down in tears and expressed how everyone else she knew had managed to bounce back after giving birth, but she was still struggling to lose the baby weight. She felt like he didn't find her attractive anymore, which only made things worse. John was shocked by her reaction. He had no idea she was feeling this way. While he didn't appreciate her not trusting him and going to such lengths, he acknowledged that he should have been more open with her. He empathized with Grace, realizing how difficult it must have been for her since he hadn't been communicating openly and maturely. Anna was never hired by the Richards again. And Grace finally sought professional help for her postpartum depression after realizing the gravity of her situation. Her doctor explained that she was not alone in her feelings as postpartum depression affects 10 to 20% of new mothers. She received treatment with antidepressants and went to a psychotherapist. John supported her throughout the process, which made her feel less alone. After 4 weeks, the overwhelming paranoia and insecurity started to subside. Grace felt like she could breathe again. The feelings of inadequacy, depression, and anxiety disappeared, and she started to feel like her old self. They hired a new babysitter to help with the baby, and she was nothing like the previous one. After a year of treatment, Grace was ready to come off the medication. The only thing she regrets is not seeking help earlier. With John's support, she learned to accept her post-baby body. She eventually realized that John didn't care that she wasn't as slim as she used to be. Postpartum depression is a very real condition that requires medical attention. It's not something a new mom can overcome by trying to be more positive. This type of depression can make women feel out of control, helpless, and inadequate. If you know someone who may be suffering from it, what can you do to help? According to the Postnatal Depression Support Association, seeking professional help from a psychologist is the most effective way to manage postpartum depression in conjunction with medication. A psychologist can help the new mom identify triggers and work through them. Support groups are also available, and many women find it helpful to share their thoughts and feelings with others. Most importantly, women with postpartum depression need to know that they are not alone.